There's a guy in my neighborhood, retired, 68 years old, spends his Tuesdays on a golf course. His name is Steve, and last summer at a barbecue, I asked him how retirement was going, expecting the usual, oh, we're getting by, fixed income, blah, blah, blah. Instead, Steve looks at me dead in the eyes and says, honestly, I'm doing better now than when I was working. I had a burger in my hand. I almost dropped it. Because Steve is not a tech founder. He didn't sell a company. He's not Warren Buffett's cousin. He was a mid-level manager at a manufacturing firm for 30 years. And somehow, after he stopped receiving a paycheck, his net worth kept climbing. So I started asking around. And then I started reading the data. And here's what I found. Steve is not the exception. There's a whole category of American retirees who stopped working and somehow get wealthier. And the reasons why are going to completely rewire how you think about your financial life right now, today, while you're still working. So in this video, I'm going to explain exactly how retirement wealth accumulation works, why it's more common than anyone tells you, and why the entire story you've been sold about the retirement cliff is fundamentally broken. We're going to explain how this system works and why it keeps surprising people who never expected it. But first, I need to give you the central metaphor that's going to make all of this click. Think of your financial life like a bathtub. Your whole working career, you've got two faucets running. Money coming in from your job, money going out through taxes, spending, and all the invisible friction costs of being employed. The goal is simple. Keep more water in the tub than you're draining. The problem is that during your working years, you've got 5 drains open at once, and you're constantly running around trying to plug them with your hands. Retirement, done right, is when you finally close 3 of those drains. The water level starts rising. Not because more water is coming in, but because it's finally actually staying in. Keep that bathtub in your mind. We're coming back to it. Now here's where most people get the story completely wrong. You think the problem with retirement is income. You think, no paycheck, no money, net worth shrinks. Logical, linear, and completely wrong. The real problem during your working years was never income. It was the number of open drains. And most people spend their entire careers looking at the faucet, obsessing over salary, raises, promotions, while 5 drains are quietly emptying the tub the whole time. This is the first reversal I want to plant in your brain. You don't get richer in retirement because you found a new faucet. You get richer because you finally closed the drains. Let's talk about the biggest drain first. Taxes. When you're working and pulling in, say, $100,000 a year, you're not keeping $100,000. Not even close. Federal income tax, state income tax, Social Security, withholding, Medicare. Depending on your state and bracket, you might be taking home $65,000, maybe $68,000. The government got $30,000+ before you touched a dollar. That money didn't build wealth. It evaporated. Now fast forward. You retire. You're pulling from a mix of Social Security, a traditional 401k, maybe a Roth account, maybe a brokerage. Your taxable income looks completely different. Here's a real scenario. You take $30,000 from Social Security and $30,000 from a traditional IRA. Only about half of Social Security is typically taxable under current rules, so you're reporting $15,000 from that. Add the $30,000 from the IRA, that's $45,000 in taxable income. Now you're over 65, so your standard deduction is around $15,000 higher than a younger filer. Suddenly, you're paying taxes on roughly $28,000. You spent $60,000. You're taxed on less than half of it. That drain just got partially closed right there. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I'm also earning less. Fair point. But here's the thing. You were never actually keeping what you were earning. The net to gross ratio was brutal. In retirement, the net to what you actually spend ratio gets dramatically better. The bathtub is filling up at the same rate, but draining way, way slower. That's the first drain. Let's open the second one, because this one is where it gets really interesting. Think about what it actually costs to go to work every day. I mean, really think about it. The car payment or the lease, because you need reliable transportation. Gas, parking, in some cities that's $300 a month by itself. The work wardrobe, suits, dress shoes, dry cleaning. Lunch, coffee. I'm too exhausted to cook dinner on a Wednesday night. Work drinks, conference travel, professional subscriptions, childcare, if your kids are young. There's actually a term some economists use: employment overhead. The friction cost of simply being employed. Studies and surveys of American workers, and I've dug through several of these, consistently show that the average full-time worker spends somewhere between $8,000 and $15,000 a year on costs that exist solely because they have a job. Not lifestyle spending, not fun money. Pure overhead. When you retire, that entire category of expenses collapses. It doesn't go down 20%. It goes to nearly zero. The commuting costs gone. The work wardrobe. You can live in the same 5 shirts forever now, and nobody can stop you. The convenience spending, the meal kits, the delivery apps, the I don't have time to deal with this premium, gone, because you suddenly have the one thing money was always supposed to buy you, which is time. This is drain number 2, closed. The bathtub is rising faster now. Imagine a conversation between 2 retired guys on a Tuesday morning. You doing anything today? Mowed the lawn, made breakfast, read for 2 hours. You, same. I used to pay $400 a month for all of that. I'm not even joking. Some retirees describe this exact transition. They discover they're living almost as well for dramatically less money, and the math suddenly starts working in their favor for the first time. But you might be thinking, okay, Mark, taxes are lower, spending is lower. That's nice. But that just means I'm losing money more slowly. How does someone actually get richer? Fair. That's a fair objection. And this is where we get to the engine underneath all of this. Compound growth. Here is the part of the compound interest story that nobody tells you correctly. Every personal finance article explains compound interest like it's this gradual, steady, patient thing. You save early, it grows slowly, then magically you have a lot of money. What they don't explain is the shape of the curve. Compound growth is not linear. It is exponential. That means in year 1, your gains are small. In year 10, they're decent. But in year 25, year 30, that's where the curve goes almost vertical. The math is brutal and beautiful at the same time. Here's a real example. Someone starts investing at 35 years old. They put in $500 a month into a diversified index fund that tracks the S&P 500, historically averaging somewhere around 9 to 10% annually over long periods. Over 30 years, they put in a total of $180,000 of their own money. But by age 65, that portfolio is worth somewhere north of $900,000. The difference? $720,000 they never earned. That's compound growth doing the heavy lifting in the back half of the timeline. Now here's the part that actually matters for this video. That engine doesn't stop when you retire. As long as you're not withdrawing your entire portfolio, which you shouldn't be, and we'll get to that, the money still in the market keeps compounding. If you have $800,000 invested and you withdraw 4% a year, which is $32,000, your remaining $768,000 is still working. If it grows at 7% that year, it generated about $53,000 in gains. You took out $32,000. The portfolio grew by $21,000. Your net worth went up while you were retired, while you were playing golf on a Tuesday. The bathtub metaphor holds. You're taking some water out, but the faucet of compound growth is adding more than you're removing. For the first time in your financial life, all 3 are aligned. Taxes are low, spending is low, and growth continues uninterrupted. Now here's where it gets really interesting. There's one more layer to this that most people completely undervalue, and it has nothing to do with investing. It's Social Security, and I know, stay with me. I know everyone's favorite sport is dunking on Social Security. It'll be insolvent. I'll never see that money. It's a Ponzi scheme for boomers. I've heard all of it. And look, I'm not saying the program doesn't have structural issues. It does. But here's what's actually true right now. In early 2026, it's still paying out. The average retired worker benefit is hovering around $1,900 per month. A married couple collecting on 2 work records might see $3,000, $3,500 a month combined. Here's the thing about guaranteed income, and this is a principle every finance person I've ever respected hammers home. Guaranteed income changes the withdrawal math completely. If Social Security is covering your fixed expenses, you don't have to touch your investments every time you need to pay the electric bill. Your portfolio gets to sit there, compounding, undisturbed, for months at a time. Think about what that means over a 15 or 20-year retirement. The portfolio that doesn't get drained every month has dramatically more time on the compounding curve. Social Security isn't just income. It's portfolio protection. It's a shield around your bathtub. Okay, let me make this concrete. Let me give you a real scenario with numbers, because abstract talk is where people check out. Meet a guy named Dave. Dave is 63 years old. He spent 30 years in corporate logistics, nothing glamorous. He saved consistently through his 401k, maxed it out in his later years, and retired last year with $650,000 in his retirement accounts and a paid-off house worth $420,000. His Social Security benefit, which he delayed to age 67 to maximize it, will be about $2,200 per month. His wife has a smaller benefit of about $900. Combined, they'll pull in $37,200 per year from Social Security, tax-advantaged under current rules. Their annual expenses? About $54,000 a year. So they need about $17,000 from their portfolio annually. That's a 2.6% withdrawal rate on their $650,000. Below the famous 4% rule. Below the point where historical data suggests the portfolio is at any serious risk of running out. Meantime, there's $650,000 with that modest $17,000 annual withdrawal and a 7% average annual return on a balanced portfolio, grows in year 1 by approximately $45,500. They withdrew $17,000. Net portfolio change, plus $28,500. Their net worth went up. Year 2, their portfolio is now $678,000. Same math, slightly better outcome. Now add in that their house is appreciating moderately at 3% a year. Their total net worth, portfolio plus real estate, is climbing by somewhere between $40,000 and $60,000 annually. Passively, without Dave doing a single day of paid work. Dave is Steve, and there are millions of days in America that nobody talks about because they don't make good headlines. Financial media loves the retirement disaster story. Americans aren't saving enough. 60% of boomers have less than $25,000 saved. Those stories exist, and they're real, and they matter. But they exist alongside a completely different reality that gets almost no coverage. The retirees who planned, saved modestly but consistently, and are now watching their net worth grow while everyone else thinks they must be struggling. Now you're asking yourself, okay, so, is this just for the wealthy? Is this only for people who made $200,000 a year? Absolutely not. And this is the part that genuinely surprised me when I started digging into this. The six-figure income is not a requirement. The requirement is a sustained habit of saving a meaningful percentage of income over a long period. I've talked to retired school teachers, retired postal workers, retired mid-level managers, People who never broke $80,000 a year, who are running the same math in their 70s. Not because they made a lot, because they didn't blow a lot. What 99% of people do is usually what not to do. And what 99% of people do is treat every income increase as a lifestyle upgrade. The raise becomes the better car. The bonus becomes the kitchen renovation. The promotion becomes the private school tuition. The bathtub gets a new faucet and they immediately add 2 more drains. The net accumulation barely moves. The people who retire into growing wealth did something different. Not complicated, different. They left the gap between what they earned and what they spent. They protected that gap religiously. And they let compound growth do math on that gap for 30 years. So let me give you 3 takeaways that are actually specific and useful, not the generic spend less than you earn stuff you've heard 100 times. First, stop measuring wealth by income and start measuring it by your expense coverage ratio. That's simply the question. How many months could your portfolio cover your expenses if your income disappeared tomorrow? If the answer is less than 60, you have a gap problem, not an income problem. Focus on the gap, not the faucet. Second, run the Social Security delay calculation before you assume you'll claim at 62. For every year you delay claiming past your full retirement age, your benefit increases by roughly 8%. That's a guaranteed 8% return. There is no investment product in the world with a guaranteed 8% annual return. Delaying from 62 to 67 can increase your monthly benefit by 40 to 50%. For a couple, that's potentially an extra $800 to $1,200 a month for the rest of your life. That's not pocket change. That's a portfolio protection shield. Third, before you retire, do a line-by-line audit of your employment overhead costs. Most people have never actually counted what it costs them to go to work. Add it up. Commuting, wardrobe, convenience spending, work-related meals, professional dues. For most people, the number is somewhere between $8,000 and $14,000 a year. That is money that disappears from your life the day you retire, automatically, without any lifestyle sacrifice. When you understand this number, retirement starts to look a lot less financially terrifying. Steve's doing fine, better than fine, and now you know exactly why.